Okay, the time is currently 4 minutes past 10, and literally 4 minutes ago I got notified that there's a patch, the patch we're all waiting for. This is especially relevant to me because in about 5 days' time I'm doing a grand finals for the first tournament for Company Heroes 3, and I want to see how this is going to affect meta, because I've got Alpern versus Ray, formerly Asher Blah. They're going to be in a grand final. And so that's going to be really important. So I'm going to be looking at these patch notes with regards to two main things I want to see. Firstly, I want to see things that aren't being used become more used. That's number one. 3 main things. Number 2, stuff that comes too early, I want to see it come a little bit later. Stuff like the, verbal wind, etc. And the third thing is I don't want them to start nerfing everything, because they did that too much in CoH2. CoH3 feels alive. It feels like really electric to play because everything's really powerful and interesting. And I'm just hoping to God that these patch notes aren't like, oh, everything's too powerful, let's make it weaker. I hope there's more economy changes and buffing of counters. I want to see some buffing of counters. So with that said, that's my opinion on what I want to see. So this is some other stuff that changed. There's some bug fixes, blah, 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 blah. Let's go straight over to it. I'll make it a tiny bit bigger for you so you can see without having to, expand things or whatever. There we go. That's a bit bigger. So, universal changes. Mortars. The recharge time from 15 to 30 seconds. And mortar damage against emplacements doubled. So that's very, very important. So there's a nerf there, but there's also a big nerf to emplacements. So tick for Relic. That's exactly what I wanted to see. It's an economy change, and it's a counter. So it's a counter buff and an economy nerf. So literally, I haven't actually looked at this yet. I'm just very surprised that what I wanted to see is already happening, so that's good. And then some other stuff to do with pack howitzers, LEIGs, heavy mortars. To be honest, I know the Brit one was kind of meh. Mortars isn't my thing. I'm here to commentate on the elite level of 1v1. Smoke duration from 40 to 30. The smoke was lasting too long. It was farcical. It looked like a discotheque at times. And so, yeah, it was weird. So that's good change. And suppression has been increased by 10 to 15%. That's huge. That's really a lot when it comes to suppression. And I will say that machine guns were underperforming and blobbing was overperforming. So great change. USF. For USF, I'm going to want to see a few buffs to a few key units, so they're not just doing Pathfinder spam. And I want to see, I think they're not bad, but a few little buffs here and there would be nice. Support center manpower decreased. Okay, making it more attractive, interesting. Fuel decrease for the motor pool. Yeah, the motor pool wasn't what people were going for. They were going for tank depot. So yeah, these are economy changes. I like it. Rifleman, to 100 health, okay, because yeah, they weren't the tankiest of units. A little tiny buff there, but that does matter. You'd be surprised by how much that matters, that 6 or 7% health boost there. Bazooka team, didn't see them used very much, so yeah, makes sense. And yeah, they were very, very spongy. Spongy? No, they were opposite. They were fragile. So they died more easily. So that's good. That's a very good change. 81mm mortar. Hadn't really seen this used. I'll jump past stuff I'm not aware of. I'm not going to give you shit. I'm going to give you real opinions here. I'm not just going to try and read everything and make something up. Aim time decreased. Now, this does surprise me, because I have seen players like Asher Blah use it to a great effect. But he's literally the best CoH3 player probably in the world right now. He's the favourite to win on Saturday, no offence to Alpern, because Ray is his new name. He is number 1 on 3 of the 4 leaderboards, so yeah. But he's the best in the world, so I can understand for other people that they may not be able to use them as good. I do think snipers will become even more OP as time progresses, because mines are going to get planted more, and people will learn you can shift command a sniper across the map, and he will actually stay in the cover, just like in that tightrope video. Long range accuracy against vehicles for the motor carriage. Okay. Greyhound. Reload time between shots increased. Is that a nerf? Well, I suppose the Greyhound wasn't bad. It just, the tank depot was more attractive in general. So I can get that. Long range accuracy increased by 20%. Now the Chaffee was already good. It was just underutilized. So not so sure I'm on board with that change or this change. They're not massive changes, I suppose. But I thought they were not bad units. Hellcat reload time between shots from 6 to 4.75, and that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I think that might be on the move and stationary reload. I'm not too sure there, but that's a pretty big change. I thought the Hellcat was already okay, but I bet a lot of people in team games are sort of suffering right now, so we have to take into account most people actually play team games, so they're probably getting tigered in the face. So yeah, Hellcats probably do need a buff, probably. Weasel reconnaissance vehicle. I've barely seen this used, if I'm being honest. So, but its weapon drop ability increased from 50 to 75. That implies it was being abused, if anything. Mortar machine gun weapon drops have a recharge of 60. So I reckon there's been some naughty stuff going on in some of the more team-based games, probably 2v2s, and I think that was probably used there. Sherman Whizbang recharge reduced from 120 to 90. I've barely seen this thing used, so fair enough. Angle scatter from 12 to 11, making it tighter. So it'll scatter less now, and scatter max from 11 to 9. So basically, shotgunning whizbangs will become more of a thing. So drive it into your opponent's face and whiz away. That's what they're trying to get you to do. Over to the battle groups. Airborne was the most popular, so I'm expecting a few... Oh, I'll be interested in what happens. Bazookas from 90 to 75. That'll make it... You can synergize and... skip motor pool or something. It'll be interesting. The M1 has gone from 300 to 250. Interesting. So they're trying to make it so you use this more. I thought it was already the most popular battle group. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're seeing something I'm not seeing. Okay, special operations. Smokescreen is getting a buff. Mark target is getting a buff. And resupply operation is getting a nerf. Interesting, okay. Well, I hadn't seen this used enough, so I'm happy to see buffs there. I've heard that Mark target, I can't say that out loud. I know too many exploits, that's my problem. I get all the tourney players asking me privately about exploits, so I shouldn't even say exploit and the Mark target in the same breath, should I, if I'm being professional? Which I certainly aren't as an amateur. British forces. Whilst doing better than the US forces, British forces also struggle across modes. They're the most powerful faction. Ah, yes, they do rely on the boys' anti-tank rifles to keep up. Okay, I see what you mean. But they are the most powerful faction. Guys, in auto match, forgive me, I'm basing that off tournament play. I see tournament feeds down to auto match, so when you see how Alpern plays Brits, you will realise they are slightly more powerful than Wehrmacht. That's all I'm saying. I know in your games, you've got Luftwaffe spamming your face off, but trust me, I believe Brits are a little bit more powerful at the moment. Anyway, infantry section. Bren accuracy increased to make Brens more attractive. Boys AT damage against buildings reduced. Ugh, I hate anything that doesn't counter garrisons as much. Ah, damage against cover objects reduced. This needed to happen because the Tommies were actually better at anti-infantry with the Boys AT upgrade. It was a bit ridiculous. And the AoE damage has been removed, basically making them like CoH3 anti-tank rifles. So this is a really big change for infantry sections. Boys spam is not going to be as important because they can no longer counter infantry. So you're going to want to go for 2 boys anti-tank rifles likely to counter the first Wehrmacht or DAC light armor, and then you're going to want maybe to get Recce's or Brens as well. So it's not about just Boys AT blobbing probably anymore. Boys AT rifle no longer gains small arms accuracy bonus against team weapons. There you go. So there's your changes. They've nerfed the Boys AT rifles. Let's see how they make Brits viable without their crutch. Foot guards. Manpower cost fixed. Increased from 399 to 4. That must be a typo. Okay. Submachine gun lethality increased by 25. They were a bit underwhelming. It makes sense. I saw Grens like rush into their faces, and foot guards weren't actually even that good. So yeah, fair enough. The manpower cost increased for commando LMGs. That's a nerf. Lethality increased by 25% at short range. So they're basically making some of the units a bit better at various ranges. Indian artillery Gurkhas. These need a buff. So I haven't even looked yet, but I'm hoping for a buff. Bren gun lethality increased by 15 at long range, Thompsons, yeah, that needed to happen. They just weren't good enough. Massive change. So basically, they're trying to wean you off Boys AT and say, come over to actually using some of the battle group infantry. Fair enough. This could be quite powerful in the right hands, but it seems to be that Relic are now pushing you towards using the truck, which you actually get when you pull on the Indian artillery mortar, by the way, so you can convert it from there. But when you upgrade it for the anti-air, yeah, there you go, 90 to 60 munitions. But the damage is reduced. They don't say by how much. So they're trying to make it more viable to go, but it isn't quite as OP. But the range is a bit longer, so it gets a range increase, a damage reduction, a cost reduction. So they're just trying to make it a little bit earlier and kind of a bit of a stopgap unit. Kind of like if you don't want to go Humber, you can go for this instead. Okay. Heavy mortar. Traverse speed. This needed a buff, by the way. I do genuinely think that. I didn't see anybody going for it except for a bit of BM here and there. 25 to 40 and barrage for 150. So 2 buffs to the heavy mortar. Nice. Take a breath. Humber. Manpower cost from 260 to 240. I felt this was too fragile and it was a bit tricky to make full worth out of it without it dying and getting overly greedy. So anything that'll help that is better. So 20 manpower will help. Receive weapon overhaul and is significantly more lethal against infantry. It didn't need that. Oh dear, I'm panicking now. My facial reactions, sometimes I do funny ones, I try to be. I am panicking now. That is a scary prospect. Basically, divest in Boys AT. Invest in Humber spam. Just get those Humbers out, spam the Wehrmacht faces, and you're going to be fine. Humbers are going to be ridiculous. If that is true, significantly... I already thought they were pretty bloody lethal. Significantly more lethal. Wowzer. Mark area can now be used in the fog of war. Okay, good. And smoke launchers decreased from 65 to 45. That was good because, yeah, okay. You didn't have munitions to get them out of trouble. Fair enough. But I'm really scared about that line. M3 Stuarts decreased the cost of the unlock. It was really expensive unlock. It was a bit silly. Fuel cost decreased from 40 to 5 to 35. Reload time has been buffed. Cannon penetration has been massively buffed. Holy sh... And Commander Aura bonus from 20 to 10. Smoke canister ability cost removed. Smoke recharge to 120. This has not just been buffed, it's been buffed to the moon. So, you don't Humber into Stuart. Basically, stop spamming infantry sections. Go Humber, Stuart. You don't even need to try and get the Centaurs out as easily anymore. Bishop cost decreased. And, yep, and fuel decreased as well. Yep, fair enough. Oh no, just the manpower, 125... The unlock this is, by the way, 125 to 100. Barrage time, 60 to 30. And direct shot is now available. Woo! I can't wait to see somebody do that. Never in Master League play, at least. Matilda. Armor increased. Wowzer. I didn't think the Matilda needed any kind of buff. I thought it was literally perfect where it was. That is, again, worrying. I think they've literally got it wrong. The British also struggle. That's not true. The British are the most powerful faction currently in Company of Heroes 3. I promise you that, even if you think Luftwaffe is. Just trust me, Brits actually are. And these buffs are scaring me because they're a little bit too much. I'm hoping for some buffs to some Wehrmacht and DAC stuff now. Grant steady assault speed and rotation penalty. Yeah, you couldn't really use it. It was like a bloody choo-choo train. You couldn't turn it fast enough. AA Crusader. Never... Okay, this must be powerful in auto match, I guess. Because I never really saw this in tournament play. Accuracy increased by roughly 50%. Oh, they're making it better, but making it cost more. Okay, fair enough. And weapon penetration looks like it's increased, I guess. Area of effect increased and damage increased. Massive buff to the Crusader. This shouldn't be in the game, and I refuse to talk about it. I don't care. Refuse to talk about it. I'm sorry. It's just too anti-historical, and I'm really not a fan of it. Wehrmacht. We're toning down parts of the Wehrmacht's mid and late game power. We will be making further change to emplacements in the next hot fix. Okay. Panzer Company. Manpower costs from 200 to 300. Concrete bunkers. Never really saw these, but I did actually play with them pre the game coming out, and they were pretty interesting there. But yeah, the health. Yeah. People in team games seem to have realised how bloody powerful they are. Yep. Fair enough. I actually know that's the case because I've done that in team games in practice before the game came out. Kaliningrad, communication cables upgrade, cost increased. It needed to be increased because, yeah, it was giving too much fuel in the early game. Bang on change. That's really good. Nebelwerfer. Yeah, okay. Fires more rapidly. It was a bit farcically slow. Incendiary, it needs to be louder and scarier in my opinion. Rocket artillery damage from 0.2 to 0.25. Okay, so it's got a larger spread. Incendiary area distance from 1 to 1.5, again, larger spread, much larger, 3 to 5, bloody hell. Incendiary rocket scatter from 12 to 10, so making it tighter. This thing's going to be monstrous. Wirbelwind decreased 30% at long range, 15% at short range. It needed to just come out later. There was nothing wrong with it. It just needs to come out later. Maybe that is later on this, I guess. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I didn't mind how it performed. It just needs to come out later. You don't need to nerf how it works. Just make it cost more, come out later. Panzer IV cost increased from 430 and 90 to 440 and 100. Yeah, seems a reasonable change. Population cost from 12 to 14. Wehrmacht battle groups. Luftwaffe. Flak 38 now requires either Luftwaffe company, Panzer, blah, blah, blah. Cost increase from 225 to 250 and 35. I just hope they fix the infinite, the health being full when you recrew it. That's all that needed to change there. And it coming out a bit later, sure. So I'm happy with the economy changes. Looks good to me. Flak 36. Cost from 310 to 380 and 45. Okay. Yep. Again, that had the bug as well, so I hope they just fix the bug. Maybe they just don't tell us if they fix a bug, actually. Cost increase for the Luftwaffe combat group. This is the Wirbelwind. So it comes out a bit later. Fair enough. And infantry reserves comes out later too. Good. Good changes. Good changes. That I would have been happy with just that, though, to be honest. Deutsche Afrika Korps. Or maybe 5. If it was me, I would have just done it to 5, and then I wouldn't have touched how it works. That's just me, though. Deutsche Afrika Korps. With great fury and is steamrolling the competition. Are they not watching the tournaments? I did kind of like organise a massive tournament, but I don't think Relic are bothering with the community tournaments, to be honest. No offence to Relic, I'm not sure. But then again, it only happened Saturday and this is Monday, so maybe this was already planned. Fair enough. They've got to base it off what they see, and they get access to data from Automatch. So maybe they're right and I'm wrong and I'm stupid. It's possible. It's very possible. Fire support elements and support armor elements. So these are some of the upgrades you can get. That one's been buffed and that one's been nerfed. Africa Corps unit changes. The MG34 lethality decreased. Have a big problem with it. Maybe you guys have experienced different things to me. Lethality, 25%. Yeah, what I found was these things were nuking, like, Gurkhas at short range. So it makes sense that that's a pretty big nerf, though, isn't it? Is that too much? 25% feels like a lot. Maybe that's about right. I don't know. Panzerjäger Squad, 5 to 4. Panzerbücher. Fire rate decreased at long range. Okay, that seems reasonable. MG34 light machine gun can no longer fire on the move. Well, that should never be the case. Good change. Build time from 20 to 35. Okay, so it just can't suck up the entire map. I agree with that. Manpower from 260 to 280. Lethality decreased 25% at short range. This is for the 250 light carrier. So you can't just use it as its own kind of unit. You have to use it as a carrier. Kind of makes sense, I guess. Because people, what they did is they just go and be annoying and cap around the side of, well, not cap, but annoy you around the sides of the map and stuff. So yeah, good change. Manpower for the medical truck. I suppose it came out a little bit early, and I did see that in games. Barton Stew, for example, that Barton, as the DAC, had his medical truck out way sooner than expected. Flak Veilig half track, 260, 35 fuel, 280, 40 fuel. Decent, yeah, makes sense. It could be rushed rather quickly. Recovery half track, I haven't really seen this in play very much, but I'm up for these being kind of pushed a bit later in the game as much as possible, so they can't cheese earlier. Walking Stuka. Okay, that's actually receiving a buff. Yeah, they're buffing rocket artillery across the board. Now, Gastatori are allegedly monsters in team games, so some welcome nerfs to that. And, yeah, 3 nerfs across the board. They've made them less tanky, and they've made them cost more. Good changes. I like that change. That's a good one. They're not just making them less potent, they're making them cost more. I've always wanted this. Africa Corps battle groups. Bersaglieri bolster, 2-to-1 command points. Oh, they meant the other way around. It says increase. They meant 1-to-2, clearly. Breda Modello 30, 2-to-3. That comes out later. The Carrot Tomato from decrease from 2-to-1. Again, this thing was hella OP. Again. I just, please watch the tournament play, because the fans are paying for the best players to practice as hard as they can and cheese the best possible units. So, yeah, cheese. And in it, what it does is it actually showcases the real metas, the real most powerful units. And it is very, very potent information, because what happens then is it filters down through the community, and you find, you know, level 8 4v4 players will use what Orange Pest or Elpern or Asher Blah, his new name is Ray, I need to remember that, or Ray, what they use in their best games. So the Carrot Tomato is actually extremely powerful, and this buff is going in the wrong direction, or they shouldn't have changed it at all. See, I don't know what Pact of Skill does, I'll just admit. Right, bug fixes. They do list them. Good. Rifle grenades, maximum range. That needed to happen. That was ridiculous. They could shotgun people in the face. Medical trucks can tow team weapons. Good. Okay, fair enough. 250 light carrier can tow. Fix an issue with a Sherman Whizbang. Goodbye. Fix an issue with a British mortar. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Some stuff was fixed. Right then, dudes. Thank you so much for watching this video. I don't know how long I've gone on for. Only 22 minutes. That's the fastest I've ever done one as well. Enjoy the game. It's fun AF. Relic won't always get the patch notes, the balancing right, but all we can hope for is out of 3 balancing changes, they get 2 of them right. Unfortunately for us, I do think they've overtuned Brits. I think Brits are going to be overly powerful now. I am scared to see how they play, knowing what I know from the very top players in the world playing currently, and Brits do seem to be not untouchable, but they do seem to be 5 or 10% ahead already. So thanks so much for watching. Be safe out there, and have fun with the game. Cheers.